After tea, Kokiri and Okino went out to run errands, while Kiki and Gigi sat dreamily at the garden's edge.
I guess I should leave soon.
Kiki said.
You should. You're not going to decide you don't want to be a witch this late in the game, are you?
Gigi asked, looking up at her.
Oh, of course not.
Then the memory and thrill of her first time flying on a broom came rushing back. For most of her life, Kiki was brought up more or less like any normal girl. She knew that her mother was a witch and that she would have to decide for herself one day whether she wanted to be one too. Still, she never gave the decision serious thought. But a little while after she turned 10, she heard a friend of hers say,
I'm gonna follow in my mom's footsteps and become a hairdresser.
Kiki had a vague sense that Kokiri wanted her to follow in her footsteps, but she didn't wish to become a witch simply because of her mother.
I'm going to be whatever I want. I'm going to decide for myself.
One day, Kokiri fashioned her daughter a little broom and asked,
Want to try flying?
Me? I can fly?
You're the daughter of a witch, so I should think so.
She could tell that her mother was trying to lure her into taking up the family tradition, but it was a rare chance, so she agreed to learn the basics. Following Kokiri, she shyly mounted her broom and kicked off the ground. Instantly, her body grew light. She was floating.
I'm flying!
She shouted in spite of herself. She was only about 10 feet above the rooftop, but it felt incredible. The sky even seemed a little bluer. And on top of that, a curiosity welled up inside her, lifting both her heart and body.
I want to go higher, higher and higher. I wonder what I'll be able to see. What's it like up there? I need to know more.
It was love at first flight, so of course she decided to become a witch.
It's in your blood.
Kokiri said with delight. But Kiki told herself.
No, it's not just that. I decided for myself.
Suddenly, Kiki jumped up from the grass.
Hey, Gigi, let's go check out my project. Just for a minute since Mom isn't here.
She jerked her chin toward the shed in the corner of the garden.
Why are you keeping it a secret from Kokiri anyway?
Gigi moaned.
She makes such a big deal out of anything to do with coming of age. And she always has to have her say, which makes everything more complicated than it needs to be.
Well, I understand that. Anyhow, you need to make sure it gets lots of sun so it can properly dry out.
Only a little.
Okay, but don't bring it to bed again. If you sleep with it, it'll get moldy like last time.
I know. I need you to help me out, though. Pretty soon it'll just be us two.
As she spoke, she waded deftly through the waist-high herbs and angled her body into the space between the shed and the fence. Then she let out a happy yelp.
Look!
A long, thin broom hung from the eaves of the shed. It gleamed in the westering sun.
If it's as beautiful, I think it'll be okay.
She squealed.
Yeah, it seemed like the drying process went well this time.
Gigi looked up at her, wide-eyed.
Hey, Kiki, why don't you try flying? The weather's nice.
I can't do that.
Kiki shook her head.
I'm not using it until the day I leave. It'll be here soon. I want everything to be brand new. My clothes, my shoes, and my broom, too. I want to be reborn. I'm sure Mom will say, you're from a long line of witches, so you need to value the old. But I'm me. I'm a new witch.
So, how am I supposed to make myself new?
Gigi pouted, his whiskers bristling.
You're fine. I'll just brush your fur till it shines. You'll be all fresh.
Fresh cat. Don't talk about it like you're gonna cook me. You're not the only one coming of age, you know.
You're right, I'm sorry. I wonder how it'll feel to leave.
I'll bet you'll cry.
Ugh, no I won't.
By the way, when are you finally planning to do it?
Gigi looked up at her again.
Seems like we're ready, so we can leave pretty much any time. Want to make it the next night with a full moon?
Why? The next one?
Yeah, in 5 more days. Doesn't it feel good to do something right when you decide?
This is going to be so much drama, as usual.
I'll tell Mom and Dad tonight. I wonder what kind of town we'll end up in, Gigi.
Kiki looked into the distance with a new, grown-up gleam in her eye.
I don't know. I'm a bit worried, to be honest, since you're so quick with your decisions.
Oh, I'm not worried at all. We can worry about things once they happen. Right now I'm excited. It's like opening a present.
She said breathlessly and poked the broom. It swung back and forth, as if it were nodding at her. After dinner that evening, Kiki stood with Gigi before Kokiri and Okino.
You don't need to worry. I've decided when I'm going.
Well, really? When will it be?
The next night with a full moon.
Kokiri ran her eyes over the calendar on the wall, bewildered.
What? But that's only 5 days away. You should wait until the next one.
Kiki frowned and scrunched her shoulders.
See, there you go again. You get mad if I dilly-dally, but then you complain when I actually decide.
She's right, dear. It's not quite fair, said Ogino.
Sure, but there's so much to get ready. It's a lot of work for a mother, too.
Flustered, Kokiri turned red. Kikiri leaned in her face, shook her hips, and sang.
Believe in your daughter, believe! I'm already ready, right, Gigi?
He twitched his tail in reply.
What?
Kokiri's jaw dropped, and she lowered her eyes.
What do you mean you're ready? What did you do?
Kokiri's jaw dropped, and she lowered her eyes.
I made a new broom. Gigi helped. Hold on, I'll go get it.
Kiki opened the door and raced outside.
Here it is.
Oh, nicely done.
Okino smiled.
I soaked willow branches in the river and then left them in the sun. I did a good job, right, Mom?
Kiki swung the broom to show it off. Kokiri slowly shook her head.
It's a beautiful broom, but you can't use it.
Why not? I don't want to use that little broom I've had until now. Flying is the only magic thing I can do, so I at least want to fly on a nice new broom.
If flying is the only magic thing you can do, doesn't that make your broom that much more important? What will you do if you have trouble flying on something you've never ridden before? Your start is critical. Coming of age isn't easy.
Kokiri shook her head and continued.
We can only give you a little money, enough to eat for a year if you really keep your expenses down. After that, a witch has to survive on her magic. During this year, you need to figure out how to make a living. Like how I prove myself useful to the townspeople by making medicine. Go with my broom, it's broken in, and you already know how to fly it.
Oh, I don't want to. It's all dirty and black like it's been used to clean a chimney. And the handle's so thick and heavy. It's clunky. Don't you think, Gigi?
Gigi watched from near her feet and let out an exaggerated purr.
See, Gigi agrees with me. He says a black cat riding that broom will get mistaken for a rain cloud, but on a willow broom, he'll look like a prince in a glass carriage.
I don't know what to do with the two of you.
Kokiri exclaimed.
You're still a child, aren't you? Brooms aren't toys, you know. At some point, my broom will get too old, and then you can use whatever you like. By then, I'm sure you'll be a full-fledged witch.
Kokiri suddenly closed her eyes, as if she was trying to think of something. Kiki pouted and tapped the broom on the floor.
What about the broom I made?
I'll use it instead. No problem with that, is there?
Kiki glanced at her broom for a few moments, but then looked up and said,
Fine, but let me pick my dress. I saw a pretty one in a shop on Main Street with a floral pattern. If I wear that, I'll look like a flying flower.
I'm sorry, but you can't do that either.
Kokiri had a serious expression on her face again.
These days, witches don't have to wear a pointy hat and a long cape. But the color of our clothes has always been the blackest black. That can't be changed.
That made Kiki sulk up even more.
It's so old-fashioned. A black witch with a black cat. Black, black, black.
Well, of course it's old-fashioned. We come from an old witch blood. Besides, black never goes out of style. Leave it to me. I'll make one in a hurry.
This old blood thing again.
Kiki mumbled, pouting.
Kiki, don't get too hung up on appearances. It's your heart that's important.
Mom, I know that. I'll handle my heart. No one can see that, though.
Kiki turned her resigned face to Ogino.
Dad, you'll give me a radio, won't you? I want to listen to music while I fly. I'd really like a red radio.
All right. Got it.
He nodded with a smile. Kokiri smiled, then abruptly turned to her daughter.
Okay, that's enough for tonight. Good night, Kiki.
And with her right hand, she used the hem of her apron to dab her eyes.